So after what seems like forever, Warhammer Plus is finally here. Is it worth your money, and was it worth the wait? Let's find out. I'm not going to screenshot any of the content because I don't know if it would cause me issues, so I just think it's better not to bother. Among my gaming group there was obviously a ton of excitement this morning, and we all dived on to see if we could get subscribed. And I think it's fair to say we all had varying experiences. Some managed to get subbed straight away and start watching very early in the day. Others managed to get subbed and then were told that they weren't eligible to watch anything yet. These little things can of course be forgiven because, to be fair to Games Workshop, they hadn't actually officially launched the thing yet. We hadn't had an email to tell us that we could go in and start watching. Yes, the apps were all available first thing this morning, but we hadn't seen the email that says go go go. And then it comes to my experience. I was, and I still am, unable to subscribe to Warhammer Plus on my main account. Compared to my friends, all the buttons in my Warhammer said upgrade instead of subscribe, and when I hit them it just went into a loop constantly. I never once saw the page that said subscribe. I tried it on multiple devices, multiple platforms, multiple browsers, and I couldn't get anything, so it was definitely a profile problem. I then set up another account and I got in straight away. But I don't want to keep using that other account. I want it on my main account because sometimes you get like deals tied to your order history and stuff like that. So that's the kind of thing I want. Also, I've got vouchers still in that account. I've got a ticket open with customer service and hopefully that it's a known issue, it's a quick fix, and it'll get resolved soon. Anyway, after I'd temporarily solved that issue, I downloaded the app on Apple TV, M1 Mac, iPad, iPhone, Samsung Galaxy S9 and PC. Did I say PC? Can't remember. I'm very impressed with the quality of the apps so far. They're quick, they're smooth, and they feel like properly developed apps, unlike some of the other Games Workshop ones. 40k app. I do feel quite qualified to talk about this because I've been an app developer in my day job for quite a while now, so I do have a bit of experience in the field. When there's more content on it, and more on that later, things could start to slow down. We've still to see how hundreds of episodes from dozens of different shows will be curated and presented to us, and how that may affect the speed of the app. There's only about a dozen thumbnails presented at the moment, so it's pretty easy to do that without bogging it down any. To be honest, I'd be quite surprised if the apps slowed down because they seem like well-made apps and I'm actually quite confident in them. I chose to view the first animations during my lunch hour on my TV screen through my Apple TV, and once again I was impressed. Even with my absolutely dreadful internet connection, 7 meg down, I was able to stream Angels of Death, no problem. It started immediately and just carried on without a blip. The picture was decent and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Wasn't sure about the art style, but I got used to it after a while and actually really quite liked it in the end. Blood Angels are quite close to my heart. That was my first ever army when I was 10 years old, so I do have a soft spot for them. I'll try not to spoil anything, but it was fantastic to see all the little touches. We got to see human staff on the Sword of Baal, which is a battlecruiser, and we got to see servitors, got to see little cherubs flying about, and we even got to see a navigator with his third eye, and I've never seen one of them pictured before, so that was quite cool. The Blood Angels themselves looked fantastic, and I defy any Space Marine painter not to take a few wee ideas from watching this. There was writing down the trim on the armour pads, which I've never seen before, and that looked amazing. And there's also a little name just in the corner of the shoulder pad. Another thing I really liked was the red glowing eyes rather than green or blue. It really worked. I don't know if it would work on a tiny little miniature, but it's something I've never thought of before, just to make them red. So it's an idea. I thought the chaplain was exactly how you would imagine a chaplain to be. He was cool under pressure, he gave good advice, and he held everything together. So he was another cool character. There's a short segment with the chapter Gene Seed as well, and that filled in a few blanks for me visually, because I didn't know what Gene Seed properly looked like other than being ripped out the neck of a Space Marine, so that was good as well. Now on to the negatives, and yes, there were some. Well, I liked the style of the Blood Angel faces. The mouth animation just didn't work for me, it didn't sync up, and it just looked a bit daft in places. There were times when the faces were actually over-expressive and there was too much emotion, and it just did not seem realistic. I might just be saying that because I'm Scottish and monosyllabic and my face doesn't move when I talk. The other part that I wasn't too keen on was the old cliched There's people on the planet, we need to get in contact with them, but there's a massive electrical storm, so communications are interrupted. That wasn't so hot. Surely you can find something else to make a story around. And also the old warp storm trick. We can't go anywhere quickly because there's a warp storm all around us. I understand why they're there. They're mechanics to keep very powerful beings where they're meant to be in the story, but they're just overdone. I'm fed up with them. It would actually be a huge surprise if one day you were just like, oh, we can get communication with the group on the ground. Okay, we'll come and help you. Great. And that would be it. Maybe it wouldn't make for great storytelling, but neither does rolling out the same old tropes every time. All that being said, my first thought when the credits rolled was dismay that I had to wait another week for the next episode, because I really enjoyed it. It was good. Runtime was about 20 minutes, which didn't feel too long, it didn't feel too short. I think we actually got quite a lot in that time. Hammer and Bolter's up next, and I wasn't expecting to enjoy these as much as Angels of Death, but in their own way they were just as entertaining. I watched Old Bailey in the 24-hour preview a few days ago, and while I liked it, I didn't love it. The orcs were far too comical for me, they were just a wee bit stupid. Orcs are meant to be brutal and vicious and not comic relief. If you want to see the orcs that I like, read Rin's World. Proper scary orcs. Each Hammer and Bolter episode is a standalone story, and it focuses on a different part of grimdark life. It's going to be difficult to talk about these without giving away some of the secrets, but I will try. Death's Hand is about Inquisitor Kiyamoro, who is about to travel to Terra, take up high office, and increase his influence. Obviously there are a lot of people that don't want that to happen, including a fellow Inquisitor. The other Inquisitor arrives on the ship with his retinue to stop Kiyamoro from travelling to Terra, and a whole lot of chaos ensues. It was really fun to see the two different retinues clashing together and fighting, and see all the different characters that each one has. It's yet more ideas for modelling. As is typical for 40k, I didn't, and I still don't know who I was rooting for in this story, but I did enjoy it and it was quite thought-provoking at the end. Now, Bound for Greatness is a fascinating story about how certain ideologies could take hold on pious imperial worlds. I've always wondered how that would happen. It follows Adept Neath as he counts books for some reason. That's all he does during his day, counts books, gets up near 10,000, seems to always be near 10,000, but I don't know why he does it, and it seems very boring. The episode starts off quite slow, but it does get into its stride very quickly. One thing I'll say about the animation style for Bound for Greatness is, 1, didn't really like it, 2, you don't know who's evil and who's good, because all the people look like evil old men, so it's a wee bit off-putting. I don't know what I would prefer in its place, but it just doesn't sit well with me. I guess that's intended though. Some of the bits are actually quite shocking, but I'll leave you to see them for yourself. Don't want to spoil it. It wasn't my favourite, but it was something a bit different from Old Bailey and Death's Hand, so I'm loving the variety. I'm not always keen on the animation style, but each episode has made me think so far. Even Old Bailey, I don't know how Yarrick could live with himself after what happened near the end of the episode, but maybe you know, and you could tell me in the comments. Angels of Death is an absolute must-watch, and I will definitely view it several more times before the next episode next week, even just to try to spot everything in certain scenes. Of course there isn't enough content yet. I watched all the animations in my lunch hour, and I was definitely left wanting more. It just felt a bit shallow to me, but I'm sure it'll get there. I was really looking forward to the 40k battle report, but I was a little bit disappointed. It was drier than a wet palette in a heatwave. I really like Nick Baton. He seems like a really nice guy, and he's all for every aspect of the hobby. Even he couldn't get his personality across in this. I'm a big fan of tabletop tactics, try saying that 6 times fast, and play on tabletop, so I was expecting similar quality here. It was Necrons versus Ultramarines, and it started off really nicely with some beautiful photography of the armies. There were long panning shots of the armies and close-ups, and it just looked beautiful. One thing they did do that annoyed me was they overused the kind of particle effect that Play on Tabletop uses to create atmosphere in their shots. It didn't seem as good as Play On's, and I just think it would have been better to leave it out. It was just too much. It's definitely something that could be worked on in the future. The army and unit descriptions were a lot better here, with a lot less assumed knowledge than the other two channels, so that was great. There is a downside to this, and that is that it took more than 10 minutes to actually get to the game. There was a lot of describing beforehand, but to actually get into the gameplay, it took a while. Once it started, once again production-wise, it was great. There was a targeting square to show you what was being targeted by a particular unit during turns, and there was also a casualty counter that was put on top of the unit to show you how many casualties had been inflicted, which was a really nice touch. Really liked that. These little graphics and things made it much easier to understand what was going on. My main issue with this is it just didn't seem as much fun as Play On or Tabletop Tactics. There were no jokes or past experiences thrown in and stuff like that. I know this is the first episode and this could improve, and I really hope it does, because it was all just a wee bit too serious. If I had to rate them for fun, Tabletop Tactics would be in one end of the spectrum, Warhammer Battle Reports would be in the other, and Play On Tabletop would be snuggled right in the middle. Warhammer is by far the best at hand-holding new people though, so it all depends what you're after. We've got a Citadel Masterclass up next with advanced painting tutorials hosted by Louise Sugden, my fellow country person. It's great to see GW acknowledge that people use wet palettes. Just about everyone I know uses one. It's about time they started using them in their tutorials. This is not a slur against people that don't use wet palettes, but I use one and it's really good to get some hints and tips from Games Workshop themselves. From watching the first tutorial, which was painting faces, I realised that my paint is nowhere near thin enough when I'm using my wet palette, so that's already something that I can work on. The tutorials look very professional, as you would expect, and the finished products look amazing. They weren't too long either. It was about 21 minutes for the face tutorial and 13 minutes for the wet blending one. I'm rubbish at painting faces, wet blending, so I'm going to try these ones and see if they can help me improve. It can't hurt. I hope these ones are very regular because I really enjoyed them, and yet again we're suffering from lack of content. I'd love to do a wee series on them and see if I can show you my progress, see if they're actually helping me or if I'm just a rubbish painter forever. There are also how to play videos for 40k, AOS, Kill Team, Diarchasm, Blood Bowl, Necromunda and Aeronautica Imperialis. Maybe these were available previously though, so I'm not going to declare them as new content just yet. I haven't delved into Lore Masters, the apps, the Warhammer Vault, all that kind of stuff, so there's still a lot more to come. I only had limited time today, so I did what I could. First day indications are that this is so promising, but it's not quite there yet. £5 is not a lot of money to pay every month for this, and you get your miniature as well, which would probably pay roughly for half the subscription, let's say, over the course of a year. So I really enjoyed all the animations. I enjoyed the battle report even though it was a bit dry. Masterclass looks like really good value and will hopefully help me improve as a painter. If it does help me improve, then in my eyes it's worth about 4 times the price of an annual subscription. The day one offering is sparse to say the least, and I can't pretend at all that my sign-up woes didn't affect me negatively. It definitely did. I've just found the solution for my sign-in thing. The upgrade wasn't available in Apple subscriptions, but nothing told me that. I just went onto Twitter just there and found a little diagram, but that's the first time I've seen that diagram, so how was I to know? But that's my issue fixed now. Minus the animations, all this stuff is available elsewhere as well. Some of it's done better, to be honest, so it's all going to come down to which presenters you prefer. I personally am going to give it all a try. I like the Games Workshop presenters. I like Play On Tabletop. I like Tabletop Tactics. There's a whole host of miniature painters that I like, so I'm going to have it all, and I'm going to pay my £5 a month because I think it's worth it, and I don't think it's a huge amount of money. So that's it for another video. As always, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.